The legendary host of The Tonight Show, Johnny Carson, is often remembered for his quick humor and engaging presence. Beneath his polished exterior, however, lay personal and professional challenges that he kept hidden from the public eye. Among the many celebrities who graced his stage, one particular guest stood out as a source of discomfort for Carson. This intriguing tale delves into Carson's rise to fame, revealing the secrets that shaped his career and the reasons behind his strong aversion to this specific visitor. The complex dynamics of their relationship, marked by tension and conflict, provide insight into Carson's inner struggles. As we explore the impact this guest had on Carson's life and legacy, we uncover a narrative filled with unexpected twists and emotional depth. Join us as we delve into the captivating story of Johnny Carson's most challenging guest and the remarkable life that unfolded on The Tonight Show. The Tonight Show, which aired on U.S. television for over 30 years, became a staple in American entertainment, largely due to its charismatic host, Johnny Carson. Known for his quick wit and engaging personality, Carson captivated audiences with his clever one-liners and smooth delivery. However, behind the scenes, there were complexities in his relationships with guests. One notable instance involved a guest he reportedly detested, which stemmed from a difficult interaction during their appearance on the show. This tension revealed a side of Carson that contrasted with his polished public persona. In addition to his professional life, Carson's personal struggles also shaped his character. He faced challenges regarding his masculinity, which were often hidden from the public eye. Despite his confident demeanor, he grappled with insecurities that many might not have expected from such a successful figure. These hidden details about his life paint a more nuanced picture of the man behind the laughter, showing that even the most beloved entertainers have their own battles to fight. When Johnny Carson was married for the second time, it raised eyebrows due to the details that later emerged about their personal lives. In 1960, while hosting the game show, Who Do You Trust?, he met Joanne Copeland, a Pan Am stewardess. Their relationship began with excitement, but shortly after their marriage, both Carson and Copeland were involved in affairs. Joanne was linked to Frank Gifford, a well-known sports star, while Carson was rumored to have been with other women. Despite the signs that their marriage was on shaky ground, the couple stayed together for 9 years. They finally finalized their divorce in 1972. What was even more surprising was that Joanne continued to support Carson and his television career after their split. She remained friendly with him and even assisted him professionally, recognizing his potential in the entertainment industry. Their relationship, marked by both personal challenges and professional respect, painted a complex picture of love and ambition in the world of show business. Even though there was blame for both sides in this unhappy marriage, the talk show host was nevertheless devastated when he learned that his wife Joanne had an affair years later in 2013. This revelation struck him deeply, as it brought to light the emotional turmoil that had been simmering beneath the surface of their relationship. The emotions surrounding this betrayal were finally revealed with the publication of a candid book by Henry Bushkin, Carson's former attorney. In his quest for hard proof, Bushkin recounts how they broke into the flat where the affair took place. Initially, he was against the idea of breaking in, understanding the legal and moral implications of such an act. However, he ultimately gave in to the persuasive distress of his client, who was desperate for answers. Upon discovering the truth, Carson was overwhelmed with sorrow. He sobbed bitterly, grappling with the unhappy condition of his marriage and the pain of betrayal that had been hidden for so long. This moment marked a significant turning point in Carson's life, revealing the depths of his private pain and the complexities of his personal relationships. Upon discovering some items in Joanne's second apartment, Johnny Carson found himself deeply troubled. The apartment contained numerous pictures of Frank Gifford scattered around, along with some intimate belongings on the sofa. This sight left Carson inconsolable, as he interpreted it as clear evidence of an affair. In his distress, he turned to his frequent drinking partner, Ed McMahon, and the two began a period of binge drinking to cope with the emotional turmoil. Despite the strong feelings Carson had about what he saw, the affair between Joanne and Frank was never confirmed. In fact, Frank Gifford would later marry talk show host Kathy Lee Epstein, who would change her name to Kathy Lee Gifford. During an appearance on the Today Show, Kathy playfully asked Frank about the rumored infidelity. His response was vague, saying, "Maybe, and I couldn't remember," which left the matter open to interpretation. The situation remained a complex chapter in Carson's life, filled with unresolved feelings and unanswered questions. As time went on, Bob Hope frequently appeared on The Tonight Show, a testament to his star status. However, Johnny Carson's patience with guests began to wear thin, especially with Hope. The legendary comedian struggled to keep up with the fast-paced interviews as his hearing and vision deteriorated. This decline made it increasingly difficult for him to comprehend the questions being asked. To address this challenge, Carson's team implemented a strict interview framework. They decided to ask Johnny predetermined questions in a specific order. This method helped Hope understand what was expected of him and allowed him to respond more effectively. Despite these efforts, Carson often expressed his frustration with the situation. He felt a deep sadness watching the once vibrant TV icon age and struggle. In moments of candid reflection, Carson would say, "Guys, if I ever end up like that, I want you to shoot me." This statement revealed not only his annoyance, but also a profound concern for the toll that time takes on even the brightest stars. Carson had more than one addiction, and the talk show presenter was well recognized for his passion for women. His marital status did not stop him from pursuing them, and he continued his womanizing methods despite the possibility of losing the divorce settlement. Against the advice of his attorney, he had an affair with Playboy bunny Angel Tompkins while divorcing Joanne. When questioned about his actions, he merely shrugged it off. Following his second divorce, Carson remarried, this time to Joanna Holland, but his adultery persisted. He seemed to have no conscience about his actions, giving her costly gifts like jewels, an apartment at the Pierre, and a Rolls-Royce. These extravagant presents were his efforts at atonement for his extramarital escapades. The fact that the marriage ended in divorce, and that these gifts could not make up for his infidelity, may not come as a surprise to those who followed his life closely. Johnny seemed to be struggling in many aspects of his life. The divorces, the drinking problems, and the many infidelities painted a picture of a man in turmoil. Instead of looking in the mirror and owning up to his mistakes, he pointed the finger directly at someone else. He often spoke about his mother, Ruth, claiming she was the root of all his issues. He described her as icy and cruel, saying simply, "She is the cruelest I have ever known." This sentiment reflected a deep-seated resentment, as he believed she had tampered with his life in ways that left lasting scars. He felt there was no way he could ever impress her, which added to his feelings of inadequacy. He even managed to hold her responsible for his unsuccessful marriages, suggesting that her influence had a far-reaching impact on his relationships. When it came time for her burial, he famously declined to attend, saying only, "Lady Beth, is she the Wicked Witch is dead?" This statement encapsulated his feelings toward her, showing that their relationship never improved. The emotional distance and unresolved issues between them left a mark on his life that he could not escape. Only after his passing did some controversies involving the renowned talk show host come to light. 9 years after his death in 2014, an old sex video between Carson and one of his wives was found. It was believed that the recording was made in the 1970s when Johnny still had black hair. Instead of threatening to sue if the recording was published, the proprietors of the tape rejected requests for payment from Carson's estate in exchange for the video's return. They sold it to a private collector to avoid the danger of legal action. Instead of releasing the actual clip, this collector released stills from the cassette, which were shared online. It is probably good that Carson was already deceased, since the scandal's stress may have been too much for him. The vulgar video shows Johnny with a lady near a swimming pool entirely nude, demonstrating that the talk show host was endowed with more than just a great sense of humor. They spent around 20 minutes doing activities too spicy for TV in the bedroom. Which of Johnny Carson's 4 wives is shown in the video is uncertain. However, the lady has a hairstyle similar to that of his third wife, model Joanna Holland, whom he wed in 1972. As revealed by the autobiographical book Johnny Carson, written by the host's longtime attorney Henry Bushkin, Carson's life was filled with R-rated incidents due to his history of skirt-chasing shenanigans. During the 1960s and 1970s, societal attitudes towards body image were quite different from today. Individuals with various body types faced more ridicule and less acceptance. Johnny Carson, a prominent figure in television, often used humor to connect with his audience. However, this sometimes meant making jokes at the expense of others. When actor Raymond Burr appeared on Carson's show, Johnny did not shy away from poking fun at Burr's weight during his opening monologue. This happened in both 1968 and 1976. While Carson's intention was to entertain, his comments did not sit well with Burr. The actor felt offended by the jokes and chose not to return to the show. This incident highlights how humor can sometimes cross the line, especially regarding sensitive topics like body image. Today, there is a greater awareness of the impact of fat shaming, and many people are more sensitive to how jokes about weight can affect individuals. The shift in societal norms reflects a growing understanding of body positivity and acceptance. In the world of entertainment, Johnny Carson was a giant, known for his charm and wit on television. However, beyond his fame, he had ambitions that extended into business. In the late 1970s, he explored the idea of investing in real estate, which led him to consider purchasing the Aladdin Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. In 1980, he came very close to making this significant investment. Ultimately, he decided against it, and the hotel was bought by Wayne Newton, a fellow entertainer. This turn of events did not sit well with Carson, who felt the media painted him as the loser in this situation. It was important to him to maintain a strong public image, and he took issue with the way the narrative unfolded. In response to the media's portrayal, Carson used his television platform to make jokes about Newton, particularly targeting his sexual orientation. At that time, having a masculine image was crucial in the public eye, and Carson's jokes reflected the societal attitudes of the era. While these comments may seem less significant today, they contributed to a lasting rift between the two men. The rivalry was not just about business. It became personal, with Carson feeling the need to defend his reputation through humor, even if it meant crossing lines that would be viewed differently in later years. The tension between them highlighted the complexities of fame, competition, and the impact of public perception on personal relationships. The divide persisted for years after that, leading Newton to discuss the situation publicly. During an appearance on Larry King Live, he made a striking observation about Johnny Carson, stating that Carson was a mean-spirited human being. Newton suggested that, for whatever reason, Carson had been severely wounded by people in his life. At some point, he decided to vent his hurt and rage on Newton. This public criticism did not deter Carson, as the taunts continued. Eventually, Newton felt he had no choice but to confront Carson directly. He went to Johnny's studio and issued a threat, saying he would use physical force if the jokes did not stop. This human touch seemed to work, as the insults finally ceased. Newton's bold move marked a turning point in their ongoing feud, highlighting the complexities of their relationship and the impact of Carson's actions on those around him. The tension between them had become a notable aspect of their lives, illustrating how personal grievances can escalate into public disputes. Carson had a notable jealous streak when it came to other celebrities, which often colored his interactions and opinions. He was particularly critical of Tom Snyder, the host of The Tomorrow Show. Carson felt that Snyder lacked the charisma and presence necessary to engage audiences effectively. This animosity was not based on a specific incident, but rather a general disdain that Carson harbored toward Snyder. Despite Carson's feelings, the public did not share his viewpoint, as Snyder went on to host successful shows like Tomorrow with Tom Snyder and The Late Late Show with Tom Snyder. One memorable incident occurred in the late 1970s when Carson, after having a few drinks at a Los Angeles restaurant called Chasen, openly displayed his contempt for Snyder. In a fit of frustration, he slapped Snyder, shocking the other patrons. Following this act, Carson launched into a lengthy tirade, detailing all the things he detested about Snyder. This outburst revealed the depth of Carson's jealousy and his unwillingness to hide his feelings, even in public settings. The incident highlighted the complexities of celebrity relationships and the personal rivalries that can exist behind the scenes in the entertainment industry. In addition to becoming a huge hit for Carson's career, The Tonight Show helped establish several well-known TV personalities. Joan Rivers and John Davidson both went on to anchor their own talk shows after appearing as guest hosts on Carson's program. Reports indicate that Johnny was upset by this news, feeling it was incredibly disloyal, rather than being delighted for them. The fact that their programs competed with his in the same TV time slots contributed to his displeasure. After Rivers' program was canceled in 1987, it had run for 2 years on Fox, airing at the same time as The Tonight Show. Although Rivers' program was short-lived, she later shared in an interview with Larry King Live that it damaged her connection with Johnny Carson. She revealed that he never spoke to her again after the fallout from her show. This rift highlighted the complexities of relationships in the competitive world of television, where friendships can be strained by professional rivalries. Although their disagreement was mostly focused on Rivers receiving her program in the public eye, there were whispers that deeper emotional issues may have caused the breakup. Many people think that as co-hosts, Carson and Rivers went beyond just getting to know one another. Rivers, who was married to Edgar Rosenberg at the time, later wrote a book claiming that she and Carson had an affair. Regardless of the truth behind Carson's story, Rivers acknowledged cheating on Edgar throughout their marriage. After 22 years of marriage, she requested a divorce from him in 1987. This decision led to a tragic turn of events, as Rosenberg killed himself shortly after, leaving his wife and daughter in full shock. The complexities of their relationships and the emotional turmoil surrounding them have led to much speculation about the nature of Carson and Rivers' connection, raising questions about love, loyalty, and the impact of fame on personal lives. Jones' comments about Johnny Carson stirred quite a bit of attention. In a 2014 interview, she shared her thoughts on his masculinity, which only fueled the rumors about their relationship. She mentioned that she had seen a sex DVD that Carson produced, and she was quite certain that the woman in it was not his wife. This revelation added a layer of intrigue to their dynamic. Joan humorously remarked that once a man is married, he shouldn't be wearing knee pads, implying that the content of the DVD suggested something inappropriate for a married man. Her playful yet pointed comments hinted at a deeper understanding of Carson's private life, which many found fascinating. The way she spoke about him revealed a mix of admiration and critique, showcasing the complexity of their relationship. Jones' candidness about her experiences with Carson provided a glimpse into the world of late-night television and the personalities that shaped it. The interplay between their public personas and private lives continues to captivate audiences, leaving many to wonder about the true nature of their connection. In December 1973, Johnny Carson, known for his humor and wit on The Tonight Show, decided to play a prank that would have unexpected consequences. He jokingly reported a national toilet paper shortage, thinking it would be a light-hearted joke that would amuse his audience. However, many viewers did not find the humor in this announcement. Instead, they took it seriously and rushed out to stockpile toilet paper, fearing they would run out. This panic buying quickly spread across the nation, turning Carson's innocent joke into a reality. Retailers and manufacturers were caught off guard by the sudden demand, leading them to impose rations on toilet paper to manage the chaos. The situation escalated to such an extent that Carson felt compelled to issue an apology for the unintended fallout of his prank. The New York Times even weighed in on the incident, describing it as a classic study of how gossip can spread rapidly and create real-world consequences. The chaos that ensued from this seemingly harmless joke served as a reminder of the power of media and the responsibility that comes with it. One thing that nobody could have predicted from this disastrous prank was that a portable toilet company would try to cash in on Johnny Carson's fame. Based on his popularity, they named one of their toilets, "Here's Johnny," which was the catchphrase Carson famously used when he walked on stage for his show. Carson, known for his strong sense of ownership over his brand, would not allow his catchphrase to be used without consent, especially not for a product like this. He felt that the use of his phrase in such a context was disrespectful and damaging to his image. As a result, he decided to sue the company, claiming he had the rights to "Here's Johnny." The legal battle was not straightforward. It turned into a difficult process that lasted for 10 long years, involving 2 appeals. Finally, the court ruled in Carson's favor, banning the company from using the phrase in any marketing or signage. This case highlighted the importance of intellectual property rights and the lengths to which a celebrity might go to protect their brand. When the legendary Frank Sinatra asked Johnny Carson to host President Reagan's inaugural gala in 1981, Carson felt the weight of the request. He understood that declining would be seen as a personal insult to Sinatra, a man he deeply respected. Despite his reluctance, Carson accepted the invitation, knowing that saying no would hurt Sinatra's feelings. The situation became even more complicated when Carson learned after the gala that it was Reagan who had originally made the request. This revelation frustrated Carson, as he would have likely turned it down if he had known. True to his comedic nature, Carson turned his irritation into humor. He quipped to Reagan, asking if the president knew that he had already answered his country's call once before, referring to his service in the Navy during World War II. This clever remark showcased Carson's ability to blend his frustrations with humor, a skill that made him a beloved figure in entertainment. During a dinner that included filmmaker Peter Jones, talk show host Johnny Carson, comedian Gary Shandling, and Jerry Seinfeld, a significant conversation unfolded. Jones recalls how Carson expressed his deep disappointment with the current state of television. He lamented the shift towards a tabloid nature and the rise of what he referred to as reality garbage. Carson's feelings were strong. He stated he was sickened by the direction television was taking. He reflected on his own career and expressed relief that he had exited the scene when he did. Despite being hailed as the king of late-night television, Carson's views on the future were bleak. He believed that the essence of quality entertainment was fading, and he left this world in 2005 with a sense of foreboding about what lay ahead for the medium he once dominated. His legacy remains, but his concerns about television's trajectory linger, highlighting a stark contrast between his era and the evolving landscape of entertainment. To the growing list of people with whom Carson was at odds, we can now add comedian Rich Little. The Canadian-American comedian had made poorly received impressions of the late-night host, which did not sit well with Carson. According to Little's memoir, these impressions were enough to get him banned from The Tonight Show. Carson, known for his sharp wit and humor, seemed content to make fun of other people, but could not handle the same treatment directed at him. This reaction highlighted a side of Carson that was less tolerant of criticism, especially when it came from someone in the entertainment industry. Henry Bushkin, a close friend and lawyer of Carson, noted that the impressionist brought out the worst in Johnny. Some even connected Johnny's drinking issues to the comedian's impersonations, suggesting that the stress of being mocked contributed to Carson's struggles. This dynamic between Carson and Little illustrates the complexities of fame and the pressures that come with being a public figure. The tension between them serves as a reminder that even the most beloved entertainers can have their limits when it comes to humor directed at themselves. Throughout The Tonight Show's 30-year run, Johnny Carson interviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of guests. Some of these guests became his favorites, while others were less favored. What the audience might not have realized is that some guests rubbed him the wrong way. The most notorious of these was the well-known comedian Bob Hope. Johnny was charming and got along with most guests, but he had a strong dislike for Bob Hope. Hope's prescripted jokes and lack of spontaneity made Carson uneasy when working with him. Despite Hope's status as a comedic star, Carson preferred a more natural flow in conversation, which contrasted sharply with Hope's careful planning. When Hope appeared on the show, the atmosphere was often tense due to this fundamental difference in their comedic styles. Hope's scripted punchlines and setups disrupted Carson's natural rhythm, creating an awkward dynamic. Hope, used to being the star and performing his acts, may have found Carson's improvisational style unsettling. The two comic superstars clashed both on screen and behind the scenes, as the crew had to navigate the demands of Hope while trying to maintain Carson's unique style. The conversations between them revealed their contrasting approaches to comedy, highlighting the challenges of blending their different styles in a single performance. As much as Johnny Carson wanted to find evidence about his wife, it turned out that he was a philanderer himself, according to Henry Bushkin's most recent memoir. Carson enjoyed being in Texas and was practically looking for reasons to be there. Now we know why. Bushkin revealed that Johnny had an affair with a woman he calls Miss Texas that lasted for 8 or 9 years. This relationship was a significant part of Carson's life during that time. In 1980, the format of The Tonight Show was shortened from its regular 90-minute length to just 60 minutes. Carson claimed this change would be good for the show, making it feel more fast-paced. However, this decision meant that some beloved sketches had to be cut, including one featuring the character known as the Matina Lady. Model and actress Carol Wayne played this dizzy blonde character, who became a fan favorite. Wayne even made guest appearances on The Red Skelton Show as her character, further solidifying her place in television history. The changes in the show and Carson's personal life intertwined, revealing a complex man who was both a beloved entertainer and a flawed individual. After the departure of Carol from The Tonight Show, the program honored her legacy by keeping her beloved Matina Lady character off the air for an entire year. This decision highlighted the impact she had on the show and its audience. When the character eventually returned, actress Teresa Genzel took on the role, but many fans felt that no one could truly fill Carol's shoes. The absence of a regular paycheck hit Carol hard, leading her to face financial struggles that added to her stress. In an attempt to cope with her difficulties, she turned to alcohol and drugs, which clouded her judgment and led to questionable choices in her personal life. One significant relationship during this turbulent time was with Edward Durston, a car salesman who whisked her away to Mexico in 1985 during the holiday season. Tragically, Carol's life came to a mysterious end, leaving many questions unanswered and a legacy that would be remembered by fans and friends alike. After a serious argument with Ed during their vacation in Mexico, the actress was reportedly in distress. Just 3 days later, Her body was discovered floating in the water by a group of local fishermen. The cause of her death was never determined, as the water was too shallow for her to have drowned unless she was under the influence. Following her death, Ed's behavior was somewhat odd. When Carol's body was found, he had already left the country, reportedly leaving the actress's bags at the airport. This raised eyebrows and led to speculation about his involvement. It was ultimately an employee of the hotel who had to identify the body, which added to the mystery surrounding the situation. Despite the lack of conclusive evidence, many people suspected that Ed might have been involved in the actress's demise. The circumstances surrounding her death remained shrouded in uncertainty, leaving many questions unanswered. One of the reasons the rumors about Ed Durston persisted was his previous connection to another tragic death in 1969. Ed Durston was present when Diane Linkletter, the daughter of television star Art Linkletter, fell from a building. At the time of her death, Art believed that his daughter was experiencing LSD flashbacks. This incident deeply affected him, leading him to become an outspoken opponent of drugs. Art even gave up his career to advocate against drug use. He had previously opposed Diane's drug use, and in response to her struggles, he recorded an anti-drug album. Diane, however, recorded a rebuttal album that went on to win a Grammy. Her history with drugs was well known, and she had often complained about having bad trips. This led many to believe that her death might have been a suicide, influenced by her troubled mental state. The tragic circumstances surrounding Diane's life and death cast a long shadow, intertwining with the rumors about Ed Durston. Old viewers may recall that Jack Paar, not Johnny Carson, hosted The Tonight Show from 1957 to 1962. During his time, Paar often found himself in hot water, as his hosting career was marked by several controversies. One notable incident involved an interview with Cuban leader Fidel Castro, which stirred significant public interest and debate. Another memorable moment occurred when Paar had to shove Mickey Rooney off the show because Rooney was intoxicated, showcasing the unpredictable nature of live television. However, Parr's most famous controversy revolved around a joke that was never aired. He had made a somewhat obscene joke for the time as part of a pre-recorded segment. When the live broadcast aired, Paar realized that the censors had removed his joke from the segment. This infuriated him, leading to a dramatic exit from the set in the middle of the show. He declared, "This is my last night at The Tonight Show," leaving a lasting impression on the audience and marking a significant moment in television history. Parr's abrupt resignation stunned everyone and wrecked the program, leaving a void that many thought would be impossible to fill. However, just a month later, he was persuaded to return, a decision that surprised both fans and critics alike. Upon his return, he attempted to regain a sense of normalcy, continuing to host the program for another 2 years. Despite his efforts, it was clear that the earlier episode had a significant impact on him. He openly admitted that he couldn't handle the pressure of putting on a daily 1-5-minute performance, which ultimately led to his departure for good. Some claim that his previous walkout still haunted him, influencing his decision to leave the late-night program. After stepping away, Paar went on to host other programs with a less demanding schedule, including many prime-time engagements. Whatever the case, his departure made room for Johnny Carson, who would go on to leave a lasting impression on the program and redefine late-night television for years to come. Despite his issues with other TV celebrities, Carson publicly supported Burt Parks during a challenging time in Parks' career. Parks was a well-known singer and television announcer who gained fame in the 1960s and 1970s, particularly for his role in presenting the Miss America competition. His signature song, "There She Is, Miss America," became a beloved part of the event. However, in 1979, after a remarkable 20-year tenure, the show's producers decided that Parks had outgrown his position. They believed it was time for a younger presenter to take his place, a decision that sparked outrage among his fans and supporters. Johnny Carson, recognizing the unfairness of the situation, joined the cause to restore Parks to his rightful place. He used his platform on The Tonight Show to advocate for Parks, highlighting the talent and charm that had made him a household name. Unfortunately, despite Carson's efforts and the support from many admirers, Burt Parks never made a comeback in the television world. His absence left a void that many felt deeply, as he had become an iconic figure in American entertainment. In the late 1980s, a significant scandal emerged involving presidential candidate Gary Hart, who was running against Michael Dukakis. The situation escalated when it was revealed that Hart had engaged in an extramarital affair. The scandal reached its peak when the New York Post published a photograph of Hart on a boat with Donna Rice, which became a symbol of his public disgrace. This revelation not only led to Hart's withdrawal from the race, but also sparked a wave of ridicule from late-night comedians. Among them, Johnny Carson was particularly notable for his sharp humor. Carson's jokes about Hart's affair contributed to the public's perception of the scandal, and many believe that his frequent barbs played a role in undermining Hart's campaign. The combination of the scandal and the relentless mockery from figures like Carson left a lasting impact on Hart's political aspirations, illustrating how late-night television could influence public opinion and political careers during that era. After all, these comedians choke about current events as part of their trade, who could blame them? The irony of the situation is often hard to ignore. For instance, there was a notable moment when two prominent figures were seen in a boat named Monkey Business. It raises a curious thought about the state of democracy, when the identity of the next president of the United States could be influenced significantly by the jokes crafted by Johnny Carson's writers. Television reviewer Greg Dawson remarked on this peculiar reality, questioning if this is indeed a wonderful democracy. Jokes about the actions and lifestyles of well-known politicians have long been a staple for late-night comedians, and they continue to be a major source of material. However, the impact of these jokes has evolved. The punches thrown at politicians no longer always lead to the expected negative outcomes. A prime example is Donald Trump, who, despite facing relentless public and private ridicule, ultimately prevailed in the election. This shift in the political landscape highlights the complex relationship between humor and politics, where laughter can sometimes coexist with unexpected success. During a particular episode of The Tonight Show, the atmosphere shifted dramatically when a singer-songwriter who had recently gained popularity took the stage. This artist's somber rock music resonated with a younger audience, but it did not sit well with Johnny Carson and the other guests. The comedic elements that usually brought laughter and joy to the show seemed to fall flat that evening. Carson, known for his ability to connect with various audiences, tailored his introductory speech to appeal to the younger crowd. However, despite his efforts, the response was tepid, and the usual laughter was replaced by an uncomfortable silence. Bill Cosby, the evening's comedic guest, also struggled to generate the expected laughter, highlighting the disconnect between the musical guest's appeal and the traditional comedic format of the show. The younger audience, captivated by the singer-songwriter's performance, seemed to disregard the comedic elements that had once been a staple of the program. This moment illustrated the challenges of bridging generational gaps in entertainment, as the show's usual charm was overshadowed by the somber tone of the music. The evening became a reminder of how tastes in entertainment can evolve, leaving even seasoned hosts like Carson grappling with the changing landscape of comedy and music. Even if you believe you've heard about Carson's controversies, things will only worsen later. Numerous rumors about his conduct toward women and whether it constituted sexual harassment have persisted throughout his lengthy career. Despite the whispers and allegations, there have been no lawsuits filed against him, which leaves these claims as mere rumors. This could be attributed to Carson's reputation for having access to many competent attorneys who could help him navigate any potential legal issues. Recently, a few women have started to publicly speak out, candidly sharing their unpleasant experiences with the late-night celebrity. These accounts shed light on a side of Carson that many fans may not have considered. Unfortunately, because Carson passed away in 2005, there can be no justice for these women. It often happens that victims feel uncomfortable discussing their experiences, especially when they are among surviving victims. The silence surrounding these allegations highlights the complexities of addressing such issues, particularly when the accused is a beloved public figure. The conversations around these topics continue to evolve, reflecting broader societal changes regarding accountability and the importance of listening to those who come forward. During an interview with Andy Cohen on Watch What Happens Live, actress Sally Field opened up about her brief romantic involvement with Johnny Carson. She described their relationship in a unique way, comparing herself to an octopus and Johnny to a reluctant little guppy. This metaphor suggested that Johnny was quite forward and hands-on with her, which added an interesting layer to their dynamic. Field candidly shared that she had never been genuinely interested in Carson. Instead, she felt compelled to date him because she found it difficult to refuse his advances. This revelation highlighted the peculiar nature of their connection, where her reluctance contrasted sharply with his assertiveness. Field's reflections on this chapter of her life provided insight into the complexities of relationships in Hollywood, especially when one party is more dominant than the other. The conversation with Cohen allowed her to express her feelings about the experience, shedding light on the often unspoken challenges faced by young actresses in the industry. It was noted that she had a knack for saying no, which led her to become quite skilled at crafting strange excuses to avoid uncomfortable situations. During a revealing interview on Watch What Happens Live, she shared that she had tried to adopt Johnny Carson's approach to escape unwanted attention. She recounted how she would tell people that she had lost her mind, claiming, "I told him I was having a breakdown, and I was being taken away to an institution." This was her way of expressing her disinterest without being harsh. She explained that she felt it was necessary to convey her lack of interest in a more dramatic fashion, saying, "I must go now. They are taking me to a house." This method of creating elaborate justifications allowed her to navigate social situations with a sense of humor, even if it meant bending the truth. Her ability to concoct these bizarre stories reflected not only her creativity, but also her desire to maintain her personal boundaries in a world that often demanded more than she was willing to give. It is difficult to believe that Johnny Carson was not the first choice to host the beloved show, The Tonight Show, given his deep connection to it. Initially, producers considered Bob Crane, who was already well known on radio and television, to take over as host instead of Jack Paar. Crane, famous for his role in Hogan's Heroes, seemed like a fitting choice at the time. However, the decision to go with Carson ultimately proved to be the right one, as he became synonymous with the show and left a lasting legacy in late-night television. Tragically, Crane's good fortune did not last long. In 1978, he was discovered dead from a stabbing in a hotel room, a shocking event that left many questions unanswered. The murder weapon and the perpetrator were never found, leading to years of speculation. Crane's son believed that a former acquaintance of his father was responsible for the crime, but a DNA test conducted in 2016 disproved this claim, leaving the mystery of Crane's death unresolved. The iconic DeLorean vehicle from the movie Back to the Future is probably well known to you. The vehicle's name is John DeLorean, an engineering car executive whose innovation impressed Johnny Carson. Johnny was so amazed by DeLorean's vision and the unique design of the car that he immediately invested when DeLorean founded his business. DeLorean may have been a brilliant engineer, but he also had flaws that would later come to light. A few years after the founding of his business, he was detained for $24 million worth of cocaine trafficking. Surprisingly, he renounced all accusations, claiming that the police had trapped him in a scheme. Despite his claims of innocence, the scandal took a toll on his reputation. The DeLorean Motor Company faced significant challenges, and the firm ultimately failed. His image was severely damaged, and even though he managed to avoid prison time, the fallout from the incident left a lasting mark on his legacy. Every night, Johnny Carson's role as a host involved interviewing his guests, but this was only part of his interaction with them. He maintained a noticeable distance from his guests both before and after the show, which set him apart from other popular hosts of the time, such as Dick Cavett, Mike Douglas, and Merv Griffin. While these hosts often engaged warmly with their guests, Carson's demeanor was more reserved. There was one notable exception to his aloofness. He made an effort to contact Orson Welles just before Welles was scheduled to appear on The Tonight Show. This gesture surprised his team, as it was rare for Carson to reach out personally. However, even with Welles, Carson's overall attitude remained distant. He often seemed uninterested in the conversations, sometimes cutting off guests mid-sentence if he found their comments unengaging. His lack of laughter, even when it might have been polite to do so, further emphasized his unique approach to hosting. This tendency to keep a distance left a lasting impression on both his guests and his audience. Carnac, who first appeared on The Tonight Show in 1964, became one of the show's many endearing characters. His performance was unique and entertaining as he called out answers to enigmatic questions. Described as a mystic from the East, Carnac's mysterious demeanor was perfectly complemented by his striking attire. He would make his entrance from behind a curtain, adorned in an embroidered turban and a flowing cape, while enchanting Indian music played in the background. The atmosphere was set for a magical experience. Announcer Ed McMahon would introduce the act with flair, stating, "Except for you, and your mystical and borderline divine way, nobody knows what these envelopes contain." This line added to the intrigue surrounding Carnac's character. Without needing to hear the questions, Carnac would confidently respond to them, showcasing his supposed psychic abilities. The combination of humor, mystery, and theatricality made Carnac a beloved part of the show, leaving audiences both amused and captivated. His legacy continues to be remembered fondly by fans of classic television. Throughout his remarkable career, Johnny Carson achieved unparalleled success as the host of The Tonight Show. This program became the most lucrative television show of the 1970s, generating between $50 to $60 million annually for NBC. When adjusted for modern currency, this figure translates to an impressive $180 to $220 million. The immense revenue from the show placed Johnny in a unique position of power. Network officials recognized the need to keep him satisfied, as his presence was vital to their financial success. This allowed Johnny to manage the show with almost complete autonomy. He made significant changes, including reducing the show's duration from 90 minutes to 60 minutes, a decision he made to carve out more personal time for himself. His influence was so strong that he only had to threaten to switch networks to get what he wanted. This tactic proved effective, as it underscored his importance to the network and ensured that his demands were met. Johnny Carson's tenure on The Tonight Show not only solidified his status as a television icon, but also demonstrated the power a successful host could wield in the entertainment industry. After Carson's request for a reduced workday was approved, the producers faced a challenge. They needed to fill the extra half hour that was now available. In response to this need, they came up with the idea of a live variety program. This concept led to the creation of Saturday Night Live, which debuted to much anticipation. What began as a solution to a scheduling issue quickly transformed into a cultural phenomenon. The show aimed to be an immediate hit, and it certainly became a victory for comedy fans everywhere. Carson believed that his decision to shorten his work hours would ultimately benefit the show. He noted that with fewer people involved, the quality of the attendees would improve. This change allowed for a more lively and fast-paced one-hour format. The energy of the show was palpable, and it resonated with audiences. Over the decades, Saturday Night Live has continued to thrive, adapting to the times while maintaining its core essence. Carson's influence on the show and the comedy landscape remains significant as the program continues to entertain and inspire new generations of viewers. Due to the high cost of cassettes in the early days of television, many early episodes of The Tonight Show featuring Johnny Carson are lost to time. From 1962 to 1972, the practice of recording over previous episodes was common to save money, resulting in only 33 cassettes surviving from that period. The remaining tapes were recorded over long ago, making it impossible to recover those early shows. Even when some recordings were preserved, Carson himself did not see the value in keeping the episodes from 1973 to 1992. He famously suggested that recycling those tapes into guitar picks would yield a better return on investment for the network. However, there is a silver lining. Some program attendees managed to keep their own copies of certain episodes. Because of this, it is sometimes possible to find an episode posted online, allowing fans a glimpse into the past and the charm of Carson's legendary late-night show. One may assume that some of the landmark episodes of Johnny Carson's career would have been preserved for future generations, but not even the first episode was given any particular consideration. It is impossible to see the premiere episode from October 1st, 1962. The most one can hope for is an audio recording that includes the opening monologue and the renowned Groucho Marx introducing the show. A picture of the two of them shaking hands is also included, capturing a moment that many fans would cherish. The first episode that is now accessible dates back to November 1962, when the show was still shot in black and white. This early episode gives a glimpse into the beginnings of Carson's legendary career, showcasing his unique style and charm. The first color video now accessible dates back to April 1964, featuring Jake Ehrlich as the guest. This transition to color marked a significant moment in television history, reflecting the evolution of the medium and Carson's growing influence as a host. The absence of the original premiere episode remains a mystery, leaving fans to wonder what it was like to witness the birth of a television icon. Despite the significance of Johnny Carson to the world of television, his first meeting with Ed McMahon was rather forgettable. Their paths truly began to intertwine when they started working together on the ABC daytime quiz show, Who Do You Trust?, before they moved on to the iconic The Night Show in 1962. This marked the beginning of a partnership that would last nearly 3 decades. In the early years of their collaboration, Ed McMahon played a vital role by presenting the opening 15 minutes of each show. His presence was marked by his loud, infectious laugh and his commanding voice, which became a staple of the program. Every night, he would welcome Johnny Carson with his famous catchphrase, "Here's Johnny." This phrase not only became synonymous with the show, but also helped to establish a warm and inviting atmosphere for the audience. The chemistry between Carson and McMahon was undeniable, and their teamwork contributed significantly to the success of The Tonight Show, making it a beloved staple of American television. Their relationship was built on mutual respect and camaraderie, which resonated with viewers and solidified their status as a legendary duo in entertainment history. The catchphrase associated with Johnny Carson became a significant part of late-night television culture. Its legendary status was solidified in 1980 with the release of the suspenseful movie The Shining, based on Stephen King's book. In a now-famous scene, Jack Nicholson's character yells the catchphrase while using an axe to break down a door, creating a memorable moment in film history. This phrase transcended its original context, appearing in various forms of pop culture. It was featured on the 1986 album Poker Party and made its way into the 1983 film Trading Places, which included a version by Weird Al Yankovic. The phrase was also utilized by Johnny K in the popular video game Mortal Kombat, showcasing its reach into the gaming world. Additionally, it served as the title of a song by the Dutch group Hocus Pocus, further embedding it into the fabric of entertainment. More recently, it was referenced in a 2015 episode of Better Call Saul, demonstrating its enduring relevance. The catchphrase continues to pop up in unexpected places, leaving fans curious about where it might appear next. Ed McMahon is sometimes referred to as the show's announcer, although in fact he never had a designated position. He took on whatever task was needed, giving the impression that he was an all-arounder. This versatility allowed him to stand out or blend in with the background as the situation required. Regardless of the precise title you chose to give him, he was a vital component of the show. McMahon had a lot of responsibilities of his own, including performing commercials, warming up the crowd, and even presenting the opening 15 minutes of the event on the early side. Perhaps most important was his collaboration with Johnny Carson, which enabled the host to make jokes without the audience realizing it. This dynamic created a unique chemistry that contributed significantly to the show's success. McMahon's ability to support Carson, while also engaging the audience, made him an essential part of the late-night experience. His presence added a layer of comfort and familiarity that viewers appreciated, making the show feel like a gathering of friends. Despite his many years of hard labor in the entertainment industry, McMahon still faced significant financial difficulties later in life. In 2008, he found himself in danger of foreclosure on his Beverly Hills home, which had a mortgage of $4.8 million. Reports indicated that he owed $644,000 on this mortgage, a situation that raised concerns about his financial stability. Additionally, Citibank claimed an extra $180,000 against him at that time. This financial strain was not a secret, as McMahon and his spouse openly discussed their issues on Larry King Live. They aimed to clear up misunderstandings about their circumstances, emphasizing that contrary to popular belief, they did not possess millions in cash. Rumors circulated that the couple had spent $275,000 on a divorce attorney, but this was related to needing assistance for their daughter in a matrimonial matter. Their candidness about their financial struggles highlighted the challenges they faced, even after years of success in show business. As McMahon faced his creditors, an unexpected source extended an offer of assistance. Donald Trump, who was mostly known for his real estate ventures at the time, offered to purchase the mansion where McMahon lived. This offer came with the understanding that McMahon could stay in the property as long as he paid rent. Despite the generous nature of Trump's proposal, the talk show host declined. Instead, McMahon ultimately struck a deal with a private broker. Michael Cohen, who was Trump's special counsel, stated that Mr. Trump did not view this potential purchase as a business transaction. Rather, he intended to support an American legend. Trump would only feel pleased if someone else was prepared to give Ed McMahon the same advantage he was offering. This situation highlighted the complexities of celebrity relationships and the unexpected ways in which support can manifest during challenging times. The dynamics of friendship and business often intertwine in the world of fame, revealing the layers of personal and professional interactions that shape the lives of public figures. The McMahon family's financial troubles eventually found resolution, but their joy was fleeting. Ed McMahon, who had a long history of health issues, passed away less than a decade later. He had suffered from serious injuries, including fractured necks, before reaching the age of 86. While the exact cause of his death was never made public, it is widely believed that old age played a significant role. Following his passing, many late-night show hosts paid tribute to him, recognizing his immense contribution to television. Conan O'Brien, for instance, remarked that there was no way to remember The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson without Ed McMahon. He described Ed's laughter as the very soundtrack of the show, highlighting the deep connection between Ed and Johnny. O'Brien called them the most iconic duo in broadcasting history, emphasizing that nothing like their partnership would ever be seen again. Their legacy continues to resonate with audiences, reminding everyone of the magic they created together. Hosting a long-running television program requires a significant commitment, as the host must be present on screen every night. Johnny Carson, the iconic host of The Tonight Show, had the option to take vacations, during which the program would feature guest hosts for up to a week. One notable guest host made history in 1968 when Harry Belafonte stepped into the role. Belafonte became the first African-American host of the show, and the first talk show host in history to hold such a position. His experience was unprecedented, marking a significant moment in television history. Over the years, other guest hosts, though less well-known, also left their mark. The Muppets, including beloved characters like Kermit the Frog, Fozzie Bear, and Animal, brought their unique charm to The Tonight Show. Additionally, prominent figures such as Robert F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. appeared as stand-ins, showcasing the diverse range of talent that graced the program. These moments not only entertained audiences but also broke new ground in the landscape of television, reflecting the changing times and the growing acceptance of different voices in media. Despite his eventual retirement in 1992, Carson continued to engage with the world of late-night television. He found himself watching other talk shows, staying connected to the format he had mastered for decades. One of his closest friends during this time was David Letterman. Their friendship allowed Carson to remain involved in the comedy scene, as he would often share jokes and ideas with Letterman. Creating jokes was a habit that Carson found hard to break. He continued to write and produce material, some of which he had previously used in his own monologues. This ongoing creativity was a testament to his passion for comedy and his desire to stay relevant in the industry. According to Peter Lawley, a close friend of Carson, he would give Letterman some of these topical bits, which Letterman would frequently incorporate into his own show. This collaboration kept Carson's spirit alive in the late-night landscape, even after he stepped away from the spotlight. As the years passed since Johnny Carson's passing in 2005, his legacy continued to shine brightly, especially as his 90th birthday approached in 2015. The New York Daily honored this television icon by compiling some of his most memorable quotes, alongside words from other beloved celebrities who had also left us. Carson, known for his sharp wit and humor, had a unique way of offering advice on how to enjoy life. He famously remarked, "If only life were fair, Elvis would still be with us, and all the impersonators would be dead instead." This quote reflects his playful take on the absurdities of life, showcasing his ability to find humor even in the face of loss. In addition to his humorous observations, Carson also shared his thoughts on politics, a topic that often sparked lively discussions. He once said, "Democracy means that anyone can grow up to be president, and anyone who doesn't grow up can be vice president." This statement captures his perspective on the political landscape, blending humor with a hint of truth about the nature of leadership. Carson's insights, both funny and profound, remind us of the joy and wisdom he brought to television and to the lives of those who watched him. His ability to connect with audiences through laughter and thoughtful commentary remains a cherished part of his enduring legacy. Going out on top in 1992, Carson decided to retire, stating that he wanted to end his career while still at the top, even though The Tonight Show's ratings were still high. He began organizing the lineup for his upcoming performances as he prepared for retirement. Notably, Robin Williams and Bette Midler performed at his second-to-last show, adding a touch of star power to his farewell. Despite his usual lack of sentimentality, Carson shared some wisdom with his team. He emphasized that nothing lasts forever, and that everything wonderful must come to an end. He believed that leaving while still doing well, and at the top of your game, is the ideal moment to depart. After 30 years in the spotlight, he felt it was enough. This decision reflected his understanding of the entertainment industry and the importance of timing in a successful career. His retirement marked the end of an era, leaving behind a legacy that would be remembered for years to come. At a memorable event, there were a few surprise performances that left a lasting impression. Johnny Carson and Bette Midler took the stage together for an unexpected duet of Here's That Rainy Day. This moment was particularly special, as it showcased the chemistry between the two performers. Bette Midler, who was one of the guests that evening, also had her own solo performance. She chose One for My Baby and One More for the Road, songs that resonated deeply with the audience and highlighted her emotional range as a singer. Midler later expressed that the duet with Johnny was one of the most moving experiences she had ever encountered. Unfortunately, this beautiful duet was never broadcast, leaving it as a cherished memory for those who were present. Following the main performances, Bette Midler and Robin Williams joined Johnny for an encore, delighting the audience with a song that further showcased their talents and camaraderie. The evening was filled with laughter, music, and unforgettable moments that would not be repeated. On May 22, 1992, Johnny Carson took to the stage for the final time, delivering a heartfelt farewell that resonated with millions. As he stood before an audience of approximately 50 million viewers, he reflected on his remarkable journey that spanned nearly 3 decades. With a mix of nostalgia and gratitude, he expressed, "I have found something that I have always wanted to do, and I am fortunate to have enjoyed every last bit of it." This moment was not just a goodbye, it was a celebration of his career and the connections he had forged over the years. In his closing remarks, Carson took a moment to thank those who had been instrumental in his success. He acknowledged Doc Severinsen, the talented band leader who had been a constant presence on the show, and Ed McMahon, his longtime partner and friend. Their camaraderie had been a cornerstone of the program, bringing joy and laughter to countless viewers. Carson's gratitude extended beyond just his immediate team. He recognized all his former and current collaborators, emphasizing that their contributions were vital to the show's legacy. He also reached out to the audience, expressing his deep appreciation for the viewers who had welcomed him into their homes night after night. Carson understood that without their support, none of his achievements would have been possible. His farewell was a poignant reminder of the impact he had made in the world of entertainment, leaving behind a legacy that would be cherished for generations to come. Given how long Carson worked on television, it's hardly surprising that many well-known people sent him tributes when he passed away in 2005. Everyone who grew up watching Johnny Carson enjoyed 30 years of going to bed happily. Actor Steve Martin recalled with fondness how Carson's carefree mischievousness and boyish manner made the nation a better place to live in. Martin remarked that Carson loved to laugh, loved to make people laugh, and loved entertainers and comedians. Talk show host Jay Leno also paid tribute to the late Carson, saying that nobody has ever made an impact on television as great as Johnny. He enriched this nation for sure, without a doubt. Johnny set the benchmark for what a talk show host could be, blending humor with charm, and creating a space where both guests and audiences felt at home. His legacy continues to influence comedians and entertainers, reminding everyone of the joy and laughter he brought into their lives. As you may have observed by now, Carson was known for making inappropriate jokes, but nothing went down harder than his decision to make fun of Mr. Rogers. In a skit that shocked many, Carson impersonated the beloved figure, portraying him as a villain who begged kids to steal money from their parents. The skit was meant to be humorous, but it missed the mark for most viewers. When Fred Rogers learned about the mimicry, he was not amused. The typically cordial neighbor found it offensive to see his character warped in such a manner. His whole life's work had been dedicated to inspiring children to be good neighbors, and to see the world as one big community. The portrayal contradicted everything he stood for. In the end, Johnny apologized for the harm his mimicry had caused, and for his actions. This incident serves as a reminder of the fine line between humor and respect, especially when it comes to figures who have dedicated their lives to positive influence. Carson's negative connection with alcohol persisted in influencing his actions. Most individuals who are intoxicated may engage in unpleasant and careless acts, but for chronic drinkers, the risk of making poor decisions becomes a constant threat. In Carson's case, this led to a significant incident in 1982 when he chose to drive after drinking. He was charged with a misdemeanor after being discovered operating his DeLorean while intoxicated. This incident highlighted the dangers of drinking and driving, a choice that many people make without considering the consequences. Although Carson avoided prison time, he was required to attend an alcohol treatment program specifically designed for drivers. This program imposed limitations on how he could use his vehicle. He was not allowed to transport other people or pets, which further emphasized the seriousness of his actions. He could only drive to and from work, a restriction that served as a reminder of the choices he made and the impact they had on his life. Although friends, family, and some in the business were aware of his drinking, Carson made a significant effort to hide his issues from the public eye. He chose not to conduct interviews because he understood that any journalist would likely pose probing questions about his personal life. However, Johnny ultimately realized he had a serious problem when his drinking began to affect his performances. When he finally consented to a lengthy interview with 60 Minutes, the world learned about his struggles with alcohol. During this interview, he even accused TV announcer Ed McMahon of being involved in his drinking sessions, reminiscing about the wonderful times they had shared. Yet, he acknowledged that these nights, while enjoyable at the moment, led to him making inappropriate jokes while under the influence, which were extremely offensive to others, and would come back to haunt him. He candidly admitted on the show that he did not handle alcohol well at all, saying, "I don't handle alcohol well at all." This admission marked a turning point in his life, as he faced the reality of his addiction and its impact on his career and relationships. It was well known in the world of show business that Johnny Carson struggled with alcohol. This issue not only affected him, but also those around him, particularly his family. The situation became especially evident during a significant event in October 1987, when Carson's show celebrated its 25th anniversary. NBC organized a grand party on the Queen Mary, inviting many friends, family members, celebrities, and television executives. Among the guests was Carson's son, Rick, who also had his own struggles with alcohol. At the party, Rick became very drunk, which infuriated his father. In a moment of anger, Carson lost his cool and began yelling at Rick in front of everyone. The tension escalated to the point where Rick had to be separated from Carson to prevent a physical confrontation. This incident highlighted the deep-seated issues within the family and the challenges that come with addiction, especially in the high-pressure environment of show business. The public nature of the argument served as a painful reminder of the struggles they faced, revealing how difficult it can be to manage personal problems under the spotlight. Given his dark side, you might be surprised to hear that Carson was a father. He had 3 children with his first wife, John Walcott, but he never had any more from subsequent marriages. His son, Rick, suffered from mental illness, and Johnny, understandingly, did not support him. In fact, he refused to visit his son while he was in an institution. This decision may have haunted Carson, especially when Rick's life was tragically cut short on June 21, 1991. The young man lost control of his car, skidding off a 125-foot cliff, and dying instantly. Carson honored his son in a poignant way, paying tribute to Rick's life and his photographic endeavors in an episode of his show. This moment revealed a glimpse of the complex relationship between a father and son, marked by both distance and a deep sense of loss. The legacy of their relationship remains a significant part of Carson's story, reflecting the struggles and regrets that can exist even in the lives of those who seem to have it all. It's easy to see a television personality night after night and feel that you have a true sense of what kind of person they are. For his viewers, Johnny Carson was simply captivating and funny, a man who could charm and entertain millions. However, this perception was very different from his off-screen persona. Many described him as cruel, particularly his fourth wife, Alexis Moss. He maintained his charming side long enough for her to fall in love and marry him, but things took a turn for the worse soon after the wedding. During their yachting honeymoon through Italy in 1987, Alexis began to see his true colors. What should have been a wonderful experience quickly turned sour due to his unpleasant moods. They began to argue, which is normal for any couple, but other people on the yacht overheard Johnny's particularly cutting remark to Alexis. He said, "We have only been married for 3 weeks. If I hear you saying something like that again, don't expect this marriage to last another 3. This moment marked a significant shift in their relationship, revealing the darker side of a man who had charmed so many on television. The honeymoon was over, and the reality of their marriage set in, showing that the man behind the screen was not the same as the beloved entertainer millions